Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. The verb of today is to trigger. To trigger. And that's when something happens which causes something else to happen. Let me explain. The loud noise at the disco triggered a panic. Okay, so the loud noise, because it happened, caused the panic, something else to happen. Okay, certain smells can trigger memories, is another one. The alarm system is designed to trigger automatically in case of a fire. It doesn't say what it's triggering, but presumably it's triggering itself to make a noise. Okay? His apology triggered forgiveness. The announcement of the new dress code triggered a debate amongst the employees. To trigger. So, to trigger is when you do something which causes something else to happen. All right. Also, as a noun, it is the trigger, the thing which happened. For example, the trigger for the new dress code was employees coming in dressed badly every day. The trigger for the loud noise at the disco, well, we don't know. Maybe it was an explosion, but there was some trigger which created the loud noise, which created panic. The trigger. So it's a noun and it's also a verb. And as an adjective, it would be triggering. The triggering thing that happens, okay, to trigger. Now, in our news today here in the UK, book experts have triggered a debate by suggesting that William Shakespeare was actually a woman. Now, let me give you some background to this. As you probably know, British people are a little bit, how can I say this? We're sometimes a little bit insecure with gender. And I think it's because we love putting things in boxes, labeling them, and moving on. But when we find people are moving gender, changing gender, talking about gender, we get a little bit confused because it's not so easy to put certain characters in a box, label them, and then move on to the next thing. And I think in this case, that's what happened. So experts have triggered a debate by suggesting William Shakespeare was actually a woman. The London Library, now I don't know where that is, the London Library. I'm not sure what they're referring to there. I don't think it's our National Reference Library. It says the London Library is hosting a panel discussion on whether the world's most famous playwright, Shakespeare, was actually a woman. And this has been triggered or sparked. That's another word for trigger, okay, to spark, especially in the passive voice. This has been sparked by Elizabeth Winkler's new book, which is called Shakespeare Was a Woman and Other Heresies, which explores who may perhaps have been hiding behind his name. And the idea is that there's a woman using a male name. Well, that wouldn't be the first time, especially with authors, but unlikely. It says here, an advertisement for the event said that Shakespeare's biography is sketchy. That just means unclear, to say the least. But to question his identity, especially his gender, is usually a big no no. Well, yeah, to question anyone's gender, of course, is a big no no. It's no wonder we're all insecure about our gender when people are walking around questioning it. Winkler 34 says there are so many gaps in the life of the person who wrote Romeo and Juliet and Tempest. She's saying here that she thinks Shakespeare was either a disgraced aristocrat, a government spy, or was female. And don't forget Arab. That's another conspiracy theory I've heard about Shakespeare, that his real name was Sheikh Zober. And then she goes on to say why she thinks he's female, why she thinks the author is female. Yes. But book experts have dismissed the theory, and the London Literary Institution, the London Library, debate on June 6 will feature this lady, Winkler, and also the Shakespearean actor Sir Derek Jacobi. Another author has said it is widely inappropriate for the library to be hosting such an event and thereby promoting this dreadful conspiracy theory. And other people are saying as well that the library is supposed to be a place of scholarship. Oh, very interesting. I can't imagine that, Shakespeare being a woman. Yeah, it's difficult that, isn't it? Yeah, also another big debate that's been triggered today. The Pope apparently has said that he hasn't allowed himself to watch TV for 35 years. And that's triggered a debate as to whether TV is good for people. He's saying here it was so bad for his heart, he hasn't watched any TV for 35 years. So bad for his heart. He said, I was watching television in the lounge with my fellow priests. It was July 15th, 1990, and there were some scenes on there that weren't suitable, and that wasn't good for my heart. Nothing risque, but when I went back to my room, I said to myself, a priest cannot look at such things. Oh, really? And then he says, and so the following day, I promised myself never to watch TV again. Well, I've seen him with an iPad. Doesn't he often read from an iPad? I'm sure I've seen him with an iPad doing speeches, so he's obviously online somewhere, or someone is for him. But interesting. So, yeah, that's triggered kind of a big debate here. What else are we seeing in the newspaper today? Yeah, there's loads of things. Another debate that's been triggered is someone is suggesting, one of our government organizations has suggested that we should limit what new drivers can do on the roads to cause needless deaths. They're saying that motorists, that's just people with cars, we call them motorists, they should be prevented from carrying passengers of a similar age for at least 6 months after passing a test. Apparently, the argument is, well, these restrictions exist already in the US, Canada, Australia, and Sweden. Oh, we always say that, don't we? Whenever our government wants to do anything, the first thing we say is, well, this rule already exists in Japan or Sweden or somewhere, so that's why it'll work here. But of course, it never does because we are a completely different culture. So that's another debate which has been triggered. They're trying to force people to perhaps drive differently for the first 6 months. I don't know. I mean, our government love to try to be our mother. They think that we can't look after ourselves, and they give us advice from time to time about what we should be doing. Uh-huh. Yeah, honestly, it's like going back in time sometimes. Um, so that's another debate which is going on. I doubt very much if that will go anywhere, but it's definitely being discussed. Actually, I called my friend who lives in London the other day, and she was telling me that driving down there at the moment is just crazy. She said that trying to move from A to B, which is how we often talk about moving from one place to another, from the letter A to B, is horrific. She said everything is so stressed now that it's almost like there's road rage about to happen. Road rage is that American phenomenon where you upset someone on the road, they stop the car, they get out, and they attack you. And she said it's just really crazy. No, I've never driven. I don't think I would like to. It just sounds awful. I like the idea of having a peaceful life, and it keeps me fit going out for a walk as well. Lily Allen is in the news today as well. She says she can't imagine ever sending her children to boarding school. Well, I can't imagine ever. Well, I don't have children, but I can't imagine myself sending them to any kind of school here. I think I would homeschool them. Schools here really are awful. I know many of you would love to send your kids to an English school, but let me assure you, unless it's a private school, a boarding school, or some school which is with a very high rating, really your kids wouldn't be safe. She says her own experiences in a boarding school left a real mark. The singer attended a number of private schools, including the same ones as the royal family use. But she's saying it's a weird concept. Don't ever send your kids to boarding schools. Boarding schools are the ones where they live, okay? And she said that she really hated it. Yeah, I have to say, amongst all my friends, we always relive our experiences of school, and it really wasn't pleasant. It was horrible. And from what I can hear, they haven't changed much. I think it's because our education system needs an overhaul. It needs to be looked at and brought up to date. And when you come from a country with such a tradition of education behind it, it's just impossible to change it. And of course, because it's operated by the government, makes it very difficult to change anyway. Because whichever party suggests it, of course, is not going to be popular. So yeah, it needs a lot of change to move with society. This whole idea of the teacher is at the front and the child is supposed to behave and just look at the teacher, those days have gone. You know, kids want to interact differently. What that looks like, I've no idea, but that style that we were taught with, yeah, it needs to go. And those of you who are learning English, you'll know that the best way to educate yourself isn't with a teacher standing there that you're supposed to pay attention to with an open book. It's with interaction, it's with talking, it's with doing. So, yeah, that's another thing that's in our newspapers today. Yeah, so there we are. That's the phrase of today, to trigger. So lots of debate being triggered today. And well, I hope you've enjoyed this. Let's talk again soon and have a wonderful day. See you. Bye.